I woke up late this morning. I know, it's not surprising. In fact, it's become my new normal. But today, of all days, I needed to be up early. I had a meeting, a client call at 9 a.m. that I'd almost forgotten about, buried somewhere under a pile of laundry and toddler tantrums. Lily woke me up with her usual enthusiasm, standing at the side of the bed with her stuffed bunny in one hand and a wide grin plastered across her face. "Mommy, wake up!" she shouted, and I almost fell out of bed, startled by her loud voice in the quiet morning. I groaned as I checked the clock. 7:45. I had 15 minutes to get her ready, make breakfast, and look remotely presentable for my call. Of course, things didn't go as planned. Liam had come into the room a few minutes later, asking for a ride to school. He was already running late because he had forgotten his homework at the kitchen table. After a flurry of motion, I managed to get him out the door, but not before he spilled his juice all over the kitchen counter. The spill was massive, sticky, orange, and now dripping down the cabinets. My patience, which had barely held together yesterday, was starting to unravel before I even had my first sip of coffee. I tried to clean it up quickly, but of course, Lily thought it was the perfect time to scream about her breakfast. "No, not that cereal. I want this one," she cried, pointing to a box she had never shown interest in before. I took a deep breath, wiped the counter, and muttered to myself, "It's just a spill. I can fix this." But the mess kept growing. The more I tried to clean up the juice, the more disarray I seemed to make. My phone buzzed on the counter, reminding me that I had a meeting in 5 minutes. "Just one more minute," I whispered to myself, trying to calm my racing heart. Finally, I managed to get Lily fed, but I didn't have time to sit with her as I had hoped. The meeting was looming, and I needed to get set up for it. I told her to sit at the table with her cereal while I rushed to change into something work-appropriate. When I logged on to the call, I realized I hadn't even had a chance to brush my hair. The usual smooth, polished version of myself was nowhere to be found. Instead, I was a mom in a messy bun, wearing an oversized sweater and a pair of yoga pants, my eyes still puffy from sleep. I could feel the panic rising in my chest as the client started talking, explaining the project details. I tried to focus, but all I could think about was the juice spill in the kitchen, the laundry piling up, and Lily's growing list of demands. The meeting went well enough. I managed to get through it without completely embarrassing myself, though I'm sure they could hear the chaos in the background. At one point, Lily had wandered into the living room, clutching her bunny and asking, "Mommy, why is your computer talking to you?" I muttered a distracted answer, trying to focus on the client's voice, and I could feel my stress levels rising with each passing minute. By the time the meeting ended, I was exhausted, and it wasn't even noon. The kitchen was still a mess. The laundry still sat untouched in the hallway, and I hadn't even thought about making lunch. I grabbed a granola bar, sat on the couch, and stared out the window for a minute. This is what motherhood often feels like. A constant juggling act, with everything falling apart just as you start to get a handle on it. And yet, in some weird, twisted way, it's all I want to do, even when everything goes wrong, even when I'm at my wit's end. I'm here. I'm showing up. And maybe that's all that matters. Lily was already asking for her second snack by the time I finished my granola bar. Her snack habits are relentless. I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever have a day where I'm not feeding someone or cleaning up after them. But then I looked at her little face so full of expectation, and I thought about the promise I made to myself yesterday. I promised I would be present. I promised I would stop rushing through the moments that matter. I looked at her and smiled. "What do you want for your snack, baby?" By the time lunchtime rolled around, I was already mentally exhausted. The day had just started, but I felt like I had run a marathon. Between the spilled juice, the client call, and trying to keep up with Lily's never-ending snack requests, it seemed like everything that could go wrong did. I decided to take a breather. I sat down on the couch for just a moment, holding my cup of coffee with both hands, letting the warmth of it soothe me. I glanced at the clock. It was almost 1 p.m. I hadn't even taken a deep breath all day. Lily was still bouncing around the house, singing to herself and talking about things that didn't make any sense. I could tell she was getting a little restless, so I decided we should go outside for a bit. It's amazing how a little bit of fresh air can reset everything, or at least I hoped it would. We headed to the park, me dragging myself along like I was in some kind of fog, and her running ahead as usual, her laughter echoing through the air. I watched her as she played with some other kids at the playground, and for a few moments I just stood there, observing. The sun was shining down, casting a warm golden hue over everything. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and let the moment wash over me. And then, of course, Lily tripped. She fell hard onto the ground, and for a second I froze. My heart skipped a beat, and I rushed over to her. She was crying, of course, the dramatic tears that come from toddlers when they feel they've been wronged by the world. She scraped her knee, and her tears were big and loud. I scooped her up, murmuring comfort as I wiped her tears with the sleeve of my jacket. It was a small scrape. It wasn't a big deal. But to her, it was the end of the world. And to me, in that moment, it felt like the end of my sanity. I had just started to relax, and now this. But instead of panicking, instead of getting frustrated with myself or the situation, I sat down on the bench with her in my arms. We took a moment to breathe. I whispered, "It's okay, baby. You're okay." I held her close and reminded myself once again that it's okay to not have everything under control. We stayed at the park for a while longer, Lily slowly calming down and eventually going back to play. But I couldn't shake the feeling that today was just one of those days where everything seemed to be going wrong. I had moments where I felt like I was doing okay. When I was present with Lily, when I didn't snap at her, when I let myself feel my emotions instead of pretending they weren't there. But those moments were short-lived, and before I knew it, we were back at home, facing the usual chaos of the afternoon. I still hadn't done the laundry, I hadn't cleaned the kitchen, and now Lily was demanding dinner. At least that's what she told me as soon as we walked through the door. I tried to focus, tried to remind myself of my promise to be present, to not rush through the moments. But it was hard. Everything was piling up, dishes, mess, tasks, the never-ending to-do list. It felt like I was always trying to catch up. Like no matter what I did, I couldn't get ahead. I threw some chicken nuggets in the oven and set Lily up with a plate of fruit. The house was a mess, the dishes were piling up, and I felt the familiar weight of guilt on my shoulders. I should be doing better, I should be more organized, more prepared. Why was everything so hard today? But then I looked over at Lily, sitting at the table with a big grin on her face, eating her fruit with joy. And I realized something. I was doing my best. I was showing up, and maybe that's enough. I sat down across from her, finally giving myself permission to slow down. We ate together, her making silly faces with her food, me pretending to be annoyed while secretly laughing. And in that moment, it wasn't about the mess, the undone chores, or the failed attempts at perfection. It was about being here, with her. I took a deep breath, letting go of the pressure I had put on myself. Some days are harder than others. Some days, everything does seem to go wrong. But that doesn't mean I'm failing. It just means I'm human. After dinner, I found myself thinking about everything I hadn't done today. The laundry was still sitting in a heap on the floor, the kitchen was still a mess, and I was still trying to get over the fact that I had spilled my coffee again this morning. I had this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, reminding me that there was more to do, more to fix, more to handle. It felt like a weight that had settled deep in my chest, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake it. Lily was in her room playing with her toys, and I was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. I should have been folding laundry, finishing emails, or cleaning the kitchen, but all I could do was sit there, letting the exhaustion wash over me like a wave that I couldn't fight off. I felt trapped in this cycle, trying to do everything but never quite succeeding. I thought about the morning, the rush to get everything done before my meeting, and how the chaos of it all seemed to follow me throughout the day. I had tried to stay calm, tried to remind myself that I didn't need to be perfect. But some days, it just felt like nothing was going right. I took a deep breath, trying to clear my mind. It's okay, I reminded myself. It's okay to not get everything done today. But the guilt was still there, tugging at me. I always feel like I'm failing when I can't keep up with everything. The laundry, the dishes, the emails, the endless lists that never seem to end. But the truth is, I was here. I showed up, I did my best, and sometimes, that has to be enough. I looked over at the pile of laundry that had been sitting in the hallway for days. I had every intention of folding it. Really, I did. But somehow it always seemed to get pushed to the back burner. I felt a pang of guilt again, but instead of diving into the usual self-criticism, I decided to take a different approach. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow I will fold the laundry. Tomorrow I will clean the kitchen. But today, I'm going to sit here and breathe for a minute. I walked into the kitchen to start cleaning up the dinner mess. The dishes were stacked high in the sink, and the counters were cluttered with crumbs and sticky spots from the kids' plates. But I didn't feel the usual pressure to rush through it. I allowed myself to work at my own pace, reminding myself that there was no deadline, no rush. It wasn't about doing it perfectly. It was about simply doing it. I noticed the clock ticking toward bedtime, and I realized that despite the mess and the chaos, there was a quiet peace in the evening. Lily had already picked out her pajamas, and Liam was getting ready for bed in his room. There was a sense of calm that settled over the house as the kids started winding down for the night. I took a moment to sit on the couch, just for a second, and listen to the silence. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't calm, but it was ours, and that was enough. Liam came into the living room, his face serious. "Mom, can I talk to you for a second?" he asked. "Of course, buddy," I replied, sitting up a little straighter. He sat next to me, and I could see the worry in his eyes. "What's on your mind?" "I don't know," he said, looking down at his hands. "I just feel like everything's kind of messy. Like school's been hard, and sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right thing." His words hit me harder than I expected. He was struggling with school, and I could see that. I had been so focused on the chaos of my own day that I hadn't noticed how much he was carrying. I put my arm around him, pulling him close. "You're doing great, Liam," I said softly. "I know school can be hard sometimes, but I'm proud of you. You're trying your best, and that's what matters." He nodded but didn't say anything else, and we sat there in silence for a while. In that moment, I realized something. I had been so focused on doing everything perfectly that I had forgotten to just be there. To just be present with my kids, to listen to them, to acknowledge their struggles. When I tucked Liam into bed, I kissed him on the forehead and told him again how proud I was of him. It was a small gesture, but it felt like the most important thing I'd done all day. Afterward, I went into Lily's room to put her to bed. She was already under the covers, her bunny tucked into the crook of her arm. "Good night, Mommy," she whispered sleepily. I sat down beside her and tucked her in. "Good night, baby." I love you too," she mumbled, her eyes closing as she drifted off to sleep. I sat there for a few minutes just watching her sleep, her little chest rising and falling with each breath, her face peaceful in the soft glow of the nightlight. In this moment, everything felt okay, not perfect, not organized, not without its problems, but it felt like enough. I thought about the day and how, despite everything that went wrong, there were moments that mattered. Moments when I showed up for my kids. Moments when I was present, even in the chaos. And maybe, just maybe, that's what really counts. After I finished tucking Lily in, I found myself sitting in the living room, staring at the mess again. The kitchen, the laundry, the scattered toys. It was all still there. But tonight, it didn't feel as overwhelming. There was no deadline, no urgency. Just me. A tired mom who had given her all today, even if things didn't go exactly as planned. I sat down on the couch with a sigh, rubbing my eyes. My mind was buzzing, but I was too exhausted to do anything about it. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the usual social media posts, seeing pictures of other moms who seemed to have it all together. Their houses pristine, their kids smiling, their lives curated. And for a moment, I felt that familiar pang of comparison. Why do I feel like I'm always behind? Why does everyone else seem to have it together while I'm just barely keeping my head above water? But then I paused. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. I don't have to compare myself to anyone else. I don't have to measure my worth by how clean my house is or how many things I checked off my to-do list. I looked over at the pile of laundry again and made a decision. Tomorrow. I'll fold it tomorrow. Tonight, I'm going to sit with this moment. I'm going to let myself be tired, let myself feel like I'm not perfect, and be okay with it. Liam's words from earlier in the evening kept echoing in my mind. I just feel like everything's kind of messy. It wasn't just about the laundry, it wasn't just about the spilled juice or the tantrums or the work call I'd scrambled through. It was about everything, how messy life feels sometimes. But that's life, isn't it? A constant juggling act, trying to balance everything and still find time for yourself. Some days, it feels like the world is spinning faster than you can keep up, and no matter what you do, you're always one step behind. But there are other days, like today, where I get a little glimpse of what it means to just breathe, to just be. I stood up and walked over to the window, looking outside at the quiet street. It was almost surreal, how still the world seemed after the storm of the day. The streetlights flickered on, casting a soft glow on the pavement. I thought about everything I had tried to do today. The tasks, the messes, the attempts to stay calm and collected. And I thought about how, even when things went wrong, I still showed up. I was still here, doing my best, loving my kids, and just trying to be present. Maybe that's what really matters. I picked up my notebook and started writing. Sometimes it's easier to sort through my thoughts when I can write them down. It's like giving myself permission to feel whatever it is I'm feeling without judgment. Today wasn't perfect. Today was messy. But today was also full of love, full of small victories. Even the moments when I felt like I was failing, they were still part of this story. And that's okay. I'm doing my best. And that's enough. I closed the notebook and set it on the table. For once, I didn't feel the need to fix everything or do everything perfectly. I could just be. I went to bed later that night, Mark already asleep beside me. I climbed in quietly, careful not to disturb him. He shifted slightly, reaching for me in his sleep, and I nestled closer. I thought about what I had written in my notebook. I'm doing my best, and that's enough. It wasn't some grand, life-changing epiphany, but it was the truth. I didn't need to be perfect. I didn't need to have everything figured out. I just needed to be here, in this moment, doing the best I could. And that was enough. I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep, not with all the answers, but with a quiet peace. Tomorrow would be another day, one full of messes, of tantrums, of spilled juice and laundry. But it would also be full of love, of moments that mattered, of small victories. And that, for now, was enough.